Good afternoon, everybody. It's an honor to speak about Professor R.H. Balchandani, sir. He is a stalwart of Jabalpur, and he was a very, very charismatic teacher of Government Medical College. I have few words to speak about him because words will be less for him because he was a teacher of my teacher. So he was the most charismatic teacher of the Government Medical College of our times. And because of him only, we all were able to do orthopedic surgery course from Jabalpur because he was the first person to lay the foundation of Department of Orthopedics Medical College and Jabalpur and Gwalior. He was a very disciplined person. He was always immaculately dressed. And he was the person who was responsible for the development of artificial limb fitting center at Jabalpur. He was a complete man, called always like a Raymond's man. He was very punctual. He was very good in academics. He had a very good missionary spirit. His devotion towards his patient was very good. And he had inculcated values in his fellow students, and including my teacher, Dr. H.K.T. Raza, Dr. H.S. Verma, and many other seniors who have passed from the college. You can see the values which the teachers carry. And he was a fierce fighter also. He fought like a lion in his old age. And he was a very good taskmaster. In the last stages of his life, he shifted to Mumbai. These are the only few words I would have wanted to speak about him. I would call Dr. Rajiv Shah to continue.
And before sir continues to the oration, I request President Olva, Dr. Rajiv Bhandari sir, to kindly felicitate our orator. Dr. Rajiv Shah is from Baroda and is a well-known figure for foot and ankle surgery.
So, yes, I feel myself very, very humbled and fortunate to give this oration. And this oration is on to the calcaneus fractures. My focus would be management of calcaneus fracture, management of the closed as well as open calcaneus fracture. Calcaneus fracture management is full of controversies. To conserve or to operate is the controversy going on in the world. The people say that either you conserve or you operate a calcaneus fracture, results are the same. Both the groups, they develop subtalar stiffness and late subtalar arthritis. Mind you, it is biological injuries, cartilage injuries, which lead to late subtalar arthritis, and nobody has any control over these biological injuries. Obviously, operated cases do have grave wound complications. These are my own. So the question is, if so, why operate a calcaneus fracture? Friends, still I am an operate man. The question in your mind would be, why do I operate calcaneus fracture? My goals are different. Goal number one, establishment of the shape and size of a subcutaneous bone. Otherwise, these are the pictures from my book. that these are the areas which can give pressure due to non-malunion. My second goal is prevention of late catastrophic complications of calcaneus malunion. Look at this. These are the kind of calcaneus malunion we all see. Would you have not operated this case? Look at this case. Would you have not operated this case? Would you have not operated such prominent exostosis due to calcaneus fracture? Has Western world ever encountered such cases? So surgical management, to my view, is indicated for prevention of late complications associated with calcaneus malunion. My goal number 3 is restoration of articular surface to the as best as possible. So restoration of the articular congruity is not the first goal, it is the third goal. And that is what this legend said: try to establish articular congruity plus shape and size of this bone to as much normal as possible at the first instance, because late complications due to malunion are most challenging to treat and are with the worst outcome. The question arises, do I also treat extra-articular fractures surgically? It is the only tuberosity fractures which I operate into the middle of the night, or certain displaced protrusions like this. This is going to be a pebble when patient walks. This is going to give a tarsal tunnel compression. This is going to give a tarsal tunnel compression. Extra-articular fractures, sustained articular fractures, I would always operate them. I do operate on every single intra-articular calcaneus fracture except cases with the comorbid conditions. Please keep quiet. High-risk cases, poor skin conditions, cases with peripheral vascular diseases, cases with neuropathy, compound injuries, again questionable, and elderly people, again questionable. So what do? I follow Sanders classification. Sanders type 1, non-displaced intra-articular fracture, 2 fragment, percutaneous fixation. And that's Sanders 1 treated with percutaneous fixation like this, or Sanders 1 treated with percutaneous fixation like this. Sanders type 2, minimally invasive sinus tarsi approach assisted MIS calcaneus fixation. And this is the fibula, this is the fourth metatarsal, and this is a small approach running from tip of the fibula to the fourth metatarsal base. That's sinus tarsi approach. How do you do that? This is a case, that's the CT scan showing combination treated with the sinus tarsi approach. That's the final picture. That's plantarflexion, dorsiflexion, that's inversion, eversion. And that's the scar at the end of 3 years. Another case operated with the sinus tarsi approach. Another case operated with the sinus tarsi approach. The best thing is that you can operate these cases in spite of bad or poor skin condition. Quite early you can operate this case. Look at this kind of comminuted fracture, and this is a skin condition. But you can jolly well go ahead and do MIS fixation of fracture calcaneus. And of late I have started using this MIS plates through the sinus tarsi approach. Some important thing for the MIS positioning is not like we do for the open calcaneus fracture fixation. I use 2 positions for my MIS calcaneus surgery. Position 1 is a lazy lateral position where I am able to go medially to distract the calcaneus, because if you put a distractor on a lateral side and heel is lying into varus, your varus would increase. So many times you are obliged to put medial fixator. And so that's why this is the position I use. The position number 2 I use is a lateral position of the patient with a heel suspended like this, and your AP imaging is going to show you the lateral view of the calcaneus. The lateral imaging, when assistant does dorsiflexion of the ankle, is going to show you the axial image, and this is how you take 10, 20, 30 and 40 degree Broaden's view. Distraction is one of the most important thing which many times most often than not, I put on the medial side, then onto the lateral side. How do you take your incision? How do you mark the incision? The most important thing is to mark tip of the fibula and then palpate your base of fourth metatarsal and a small short incision from the tip of the lateral malleolus going towards the base of the fourth metatarsal is what you need. And then you can retract it with the K wire. And this retraction where you have a wire in the talus, wire in the calcaneus and retracting the peroneal. How do you put a plate? Plate is put underneath the peroneal tendon. So you are going underneath the peroneal tendon like this. You can also make your way like we do in MIS elsewhere in the body. We do this, and this is how you can put the plate, you can check and do the MIS. Sender type 3, that is MIS versus open reduction internal fixation. These are difficult fractures. Not that every time I am able to really reduce them with MIS. So I start with the preparation of MIS. If I am not able to reduce, I don't worry and go ahead and do open reduction internal fixation. So that's sender 3 done MIS. This is how the plate and the restoration of the height of the heel, varus of the heel is done. This is sender 3, where look at the combination you have, and therein I could not reduce with MIS and I went in and did open reduction internal fixation. Open reduction internal fixation, yes, we are going to have a workshop. So I'll just touch upon few things. Position and imaging. This is the way patient is positioned. Surgeon stands at the distal heel end of the patient. Assistant stands diagonally opposite, so that when you put, and C-arm comes exactly diagonally opposite. And when you want axial imaging, lateral, when C-arm is turned into the lateral position, you want to see the axial image. Assistant dorsiflexes the foot, and that is how you are positioning your patient. So look at this. The way you position this patient is lying into the lateral decubitus position with the affected limb up, and I use this bump, which works to me as a second assistant. This is how the C-arm surgeon and assistant comes. Wrinkle sign and incision. You know that the wrinkle sign, presence of the wrinkles at the junction of dorsal and plantar skin, when you do dorsiflexion and eversion, if you see wrinkles here, that is the safe time where you can go in and do the surgical intervention. So that's about the wrinkle sign. Open reduction internal fixation of calcaneus, I think we are going to have at workshop, so I will not touch it. But I am going to touch 6 untouched calcaneal open reduction internal fixation tricks which I have developed over years of my practice. Trick number 1, safe incision technique. The question always is how to decide about the length of the horizontal and vertical limbs. And what you do, that's lateral malleolus. That's the K wire which you put from the base of the fifth metatarsal going up, and then this is what you do on table. That's the K wire which goes from the tip of the fifth metatarsal upwards, and where it ends, that is the level till which your vertical incision has to go. If your vertical and horizontal arms are not long enough, you are definitely going to encounter skin issues. So this is how you develop your vertical incision. If you have a combination which is going into the calcaneocuboid joint, then you take your approach more distally and anteriorly so that you are not firing onto peroneal. This is how you do it. The second trick is safe flap handling technique. So when you dissect the flap, this is what I learned from my colleague Dr. Balwinder Rana, that instead of using a skin hook, what he uses and what I use now is the other side of the forceps, where this is just going subperiosteally and I am dissecting the flap. The handling of this flap is very, very important. Till the time you don't see calcaneofibrillar ligament or the peroneal, don't allow your assistant to put in Langenbeck retractor. So now that's my calcaneofibrillar ligament. Now the Langenbeck retractor would come into play, calcaneofibrillar ligament would go into the flap, peroneal sheath is just taken care of, not to dissect this, and that's how the whole calcaneus fracture opens in front of you. One more free assistant. What is that? Towel bump. I use a bump of towel as my assistant. So whenever I am lifting the flap, I want inversion. So bump is pushed upwards and my assistant puts his pressure over the heel. So there is inversion. Whenever I am putting my wires to retract the flap, this bump comes outwards. So I want eversion so that peroneal get relaxed. Fourth tip, actions on the medial side. The medial side is very important because you are trying to build your reduction onto the medial side. And so, whenever you have such kind of a situation, you must look into the CT scan, what is peculiar to this fracture. The peculiar to this fracture is number of the fragments on the medial side. That's sustentaculum fracture. That's second one. That's third one. That's fourth one. And medial sustentacular fragment must be repositioned first before going and starting surgery on the lateral side. Ways to do it? You could do medial MIS or open reduction and fixation, or you could put in medial distractor and get the reduction and fixation. So this is one way. Put in a small incision on medial side, and you could go between flexor digitorum longus and the vessels, or tibialis posterior and the flexor digitorum longus, and fix the sustentaculum fragment from medial side. Or you could put in a medial distractor and then get the reduction, like I did in this case. That's a fracture. Putting the distractor into talus, into the calcaneus, distracted it, and then reduce it with the medial to lateral screw. Fifth tip, managing multiple articular fragments. The question is, how do you deal with Sender 3, where you have a multiple articular fragment like this? So look at this. Many times you need to take out the fragment. So that's how this fragment is taken out. It is drawn over the mob. I mark it as number 1, and then I will fold it. That's number 2. Look at this. Suppose I am removing the articular facet fragment. I'll remove the fragment, I'll put it over the mob, mark anterior, posterior, up, down, side, mark it as the fragment number 1 or 2, whatever it is, and then I'm going to fold this fragment into a mob and going to put it on the back table. So that keeps me reminded, that's fragment number 1, that's fragment number 2. That's how you manage multiple fragments. Or many times, this is what I've ended up doing. Take out this fragment outside onto the trolley and then thread them with a K-wire outside, and then you might have to put it back inside. Or the third way is threading of the fragment from medial to lateral. So that's a K-wire is coming from medial side, an intermediate fragment is put in, K-wire goes past through that fragment, again you're going out, and then you are going to put your screw in a position mode from that. And the last trick is for bilateral fractures. How do you deal with your bilateral fractures? And situation like this, bilateral fractures due to suicidal attempt, that's the skin condition. That's the what position you are going to position. And typically I like to position them in a prone position with a bump underneath that affected one which you are going to operate. And your axial imaging is very easy. Your lateral imaging is also very easy. And your Brodin imaging is also very, very easy with your prone position, and you can go ahead and fix it like this. So last part is the Sender type 4. So 4-part fracture. Typically, world over, the treatment which was mentioned was primary fusion. But very recently, the legends into the field, they came up and said, no, primary fusion is not good, and one has to go for open reduction and internal fixation for Sender 4 fracture. So that's a very, very recent controversy. Sender 4, fusion or fixation. So I was asked to come up with my studies. At American Orthopedic Foot and Ankle Society's meeting this year at Chicago and FA's meeting in Bangkok, bilateral Sender 4 calcaneus fracture, whether it's a fixation or a primary fusion. So we had 12 consecutive cases, so 24 total calcaneal fracture over 2016 to 2018 at our center with a follow-up of 2 years. And what we did, all right-sided sender 4 fractures were open, reduced and fixed. And all left-sided fractures were taken for the primary fusion. And our observations were that wound problems were practically speaking same. Return to work, open reduction group returned late to the work vis-a-vis primary fusion because it's a fused one. Secondary procedures were in fact more into the open reduction group vis-a-vis fusion group. AOFS score was also better in the fusion group, and we had a medical social worker driven questionnaire in a vernacular language given to every patient. And then our patients found that the primary fusion for sender 4 calcaneus fracture is less painful, cost effective, final surgery with early return to work with a better AOFS score, and is loved by all our patients. Look at this bilateral case 1. Young adult fall from 3rd floor. This is how the bilateral calcaneus injury, sender 4. Look at the voids inside. That's the skin condition. Right side, this is how it looked like. That's the CT scan, bag of bones. Bag of bones, you don't find anything. And then lateral extensile approach, that's how it looked. And then it was lifted up, length restored, cartilage removed, and a tricortical iliac crest graft put in, other graft put in, and then a plate and primary fusion. On the left side, again, this is how it looked like. CT scan, very bad comminuted fracture, open reduced, reductions to the best of the possible ability, bone grafting done, and fusion primarily done. That's final picture, AP and lateral and axial. The another case, bilateral sender 4, left-sided open reduction internal fixation, right-sided primary fusion. In bilateral case, where bilateral sender 4, right side primary fusion, left side after open reduction internal fixation. So till the time I have a strong evidence-based study favoring fixation over fusion, we should continue to offer primary fusion to all our sender 4 calcaneus fracture is what we derived from our study. Look at this case. Fall from the height, that's the lateral axial image. And then this bilateral closed fracture, bilateral open reduction was done, non-healing wounds at the end of 7 weeks. What next? Culture sensitivity, antibiotic dressings, mobilization stopped, debridement done, implant removed, and second debridement was done. Issues, non-union, arthritis, dead bone. 2-stage management. Stage 1, excision of all dead bone, antibiotics, impregnated cement granules put in, infection got cleared, and then in the stage 2, calcaneocuboid plus subtalar fusion with the bone grafting like this. Another compound kind of a case. This is how this patient presented with, and then he was treated with a below-knee amputation. So on one side, there is a fixation, primary fusion. On the other side, there is below-knee amputation. So the question is, what are the decision-making criteria for management of open calcaneus fractures? And there are 4 key criteria for management of open calcaneus fracture. Criteria number 1, severity and type of injury as per the Gustilo-Anderson's classification. If it is very severe, then you have to think into radical way. Location of the wound is second important criteria. Medial location, 90% of the wounds are medial. And that gives us 2-stage opportunity. The lateral location, lateral wounds have poor prognosis. Wounds which are located posteriorly, they are also bad and they are associated with the tendo-Achilles injury. And the wounds which are located on the plantar aspect, they have the worst outcome and they have the most chances that they will end up with the below-knee amputation. Criteria 3 is there a window for reduction of the fracture through a compound wound? If it is possible, one should go ahead and do it. And the criteria number 4 is, can limb be salvaged? You have to think at the day 1 and then you should be offering a final definitive procedure. There is nothing wrong into that. This was an open calcaneus fracture with a medial wound. And then there was a window of opportunity with this sinus tarsi fragment, body fragment 1, 2, and lateral wall fragment. And then this was treated with, in a stage 1, with reduction of the medial fragment, fixing it with the talus, with the K-wire, and then later on coming in the stage 2, once the skin condition, everything improved, with the final fixation. So aggressive stage management is advocated for open calcaneus fracture. So what is your management protocol? Primary management at emergency room, aggressive debridement, temporary stabilization, plastic reconstruction, followed by definitive reconstruction. The last case, this patient with the compound calcaneus fracture after multiple surgery was advised amputation. But do give a thought to something which is called total calcanectomy. So this patient was treated with total calcanectomy for a compound fracture of the calcaneus, which was infected bad. They do very well even with the total calcanectomy. Look at the way this man is walking. That's all. Thank you so very much. I am highly obliged to give this oration. Thank you.